What is the weirdest thing you've seen your child do? When my son was around the age of 5, he was playing quietly in his bedroom, as he often did. I was in my bedroom across the hall, folding laundry on the bed. I could hear him start talking, and at first, I thought maybe he was talking to one of his stuffed animals or something. After a minute, I realized that it sounded as if he was responding to someone who was asking him questions. So I walked across the hall to his room on his bed. My son had placed one of those funny tall red and white cat in the hat hats, and it was encircled by a lie of flowers that we got in a Polynesian restaurant. He said okay, I'll ask, and then looked up at me where I was standing in the doorway to his bedroom. Mama, can I have a picture from one of your magazines? It has to be a picture of a nice woman with brown hair about to be here, and he gestured just below his shoulders, hesitantly. I agreed, but I asked him why he needed it. The nice lady needs a funeral. She didn't get one before. I was really freaked out by this time, but I didn't show it because I didn't want my sweet boy to be embarrassed or to think he'd done anything weird. At the time, we actually lived adjacent to a very nice public cemetery, so I was telling myself that my son was probably just reenacting a funeral, as they were often taking place nearby where we could see them from our upstairs windows. I went downstairs and found a picture in the magazine meeting the necessary description of a nice lady with brown hair slightly below her shoulders. Upstairs I went with a picture and handed it to my son. He took the magazine picture and propped it up in the center of the lay so that the back of it was resting against the red and white striped hat. The hat is the tombstone, he replied as though he knew I was wondering, and now we have to hold hands and close our eyes. He said we did, and then he said okay, she's happy now, and she left. Creepy. After that day I would see strange things around the house now and then, like the time I found hardened blue candle wax stripped across the hardwood floor in the living room. One morning I was getting ready to leave for work after I had already gotten my son on the school bus, and the wooden rocking chair in the living room was rocking as though someone had just stood up from it. I was the only one in the house at the time. There were lots of other bizarre happenings, but fortunately none of them involved my son. We moved away from that house after having lived there for about 2 years. My husband, now ex-husband, had reached the point where he didn't even like to be alone in the house. I wasn't that afraid, but it was a bit unsettling.